A few weeks ago, the media was awash with excitement over a woman called Lily Phillips who filmed herself having sex with 100 men in one day. According to her, this was merely a warm-up event for her real ambition, which was to have sex with 1,000 men in one day. Allegedly, though, she has been pipped to the post by another paragon of feminine virtue, Bonnie Blue, who reported having sex with 1,057 men over the course of one 12-hour sex marathon. The reaction has been varied but somewhat predictable. Many people seem quite bemused, unable to do more than talk about tangential issues. Is she mentally ill? How can it be logistically possible? What about STDs? Other people entirely ignore the agency of the women involved and go straight in with, how can men be so awful? Among sane people, the predominant reaction is generalized disgust. Disgust at these women for having so little self-respect. Disgust at the men concerned for wanting to participate in such depravity. Disgust at the state of society which not only allows people to act in this way, but rewards them financially to an extent they could never achieve by being conventionally useful. Many will sigh deeply and chalk this up as just another symptom of the immorality, selfishness, and decadence of Western civilization. But while it will be easy to lay this all at the feet of debauchery and rampant hedonism, considering the details of this case, ought we not to ask ourselves, truthfully, would even the most hardcore of decadent libertines actually do this for fun? Imagine for a moment that the world will end next week. Before then, we are all allowed one day of pure hedonism, free from moral judgment or long-term consequences. We can literally do whatever feels good to us. Is this what we would choose? I dare say plenty of people under these circumstances might choose to engage in some form of exotic sexual activity. In some cases it might involve multiple people, but 1,000 more or less randomly selected partners in a day? This is not a glamorous, romantic or sensuous scene, but a dystopian collision of cheap brothel and chaotic war zone. The condom-strewn wreckage of a rented apartment is hardly a week in the Playboy Mansion. Does any woman, even a true nymphomaniac, really imagine that being banged by 1,000 men for a few seconds each is the height of decadent pleasure? Does any man, however randy or perverted, really want to queue up for hours for a few seconds of not so much sloppy seconds as sloppy 500s with a woman who barely registers their presence? And what of the gooning hoi polloi who are presumably paying to watch this spectacle? Is this truly their ultimate sexual turn-on? It's very hard to imagine these men, presumably men, but who knows these days, turning on their laptops with excitement, watching the whole thing with delight, then going to bed satisfied. Is it not more likely that after the first few dozen rounds, it becomes less and less interesting and they find themselves fast-forwarding, searching vainly for any part of the movie that lives up to the hype? Is it not likely that at the end of it, they feel a certain disgust with themselves and the performers that have used their time in this way? Might they be reflecting wistfully on the more vanilla porn they watched in their youth, or even thinking how much more exciting it was simply to hold the hand of their first actual girlfriend? The fact is, these sordid episodes are a product not of hedonism, but of something else. This is a story not of base desire, but of the tyranny of commodification. These supposed orgies of excess are in reality nothing more than banal advertising stunts. The activities engaged in not because they are especially pleasurable for the participants or arousing for the viewer, but because they generate more publicity, more clicks, and therefore more money. It is an orgy not of pleasure, but of financial exploitation. And who is being exploited by whom? We might well judge that all concerned are losers, except perhaps for the owners of the platforms which enable this activity. It is the nature of commodification that it destroys the intrinsic worth of whatever invention, creation, or product it leeches upon. We see this in our daily lives. The products which were desirable luxury goods in our youth over time become cheaper and more available, but of lower quality, until our once burning desire for them grows old and withered, and has to be artificially stimulated by clever marketing. Through the banality of collective avarice, we are kept in a permanent state of dissatisfaction, which demands always to be fed, but with a manner of food which cannot nourish. And so it is that under the malign influence of commoditization, even degeneracy itself becomes meaningless.